Welcome to this presentation of UPSL Soccer Action, live on YouTube and presented by the Atlantic Soccer Media Group.
Everything that has a beginning has an end, and today is the end of the UPSL Georgia Premier Division fall season. We bring you Kalonji Pro Profile versus North Georgia United next.
Hey coach, is your game going to be live streamed? Can't find a broadcast partner? I have the solution for you. It's time to contact the Atlantic Soccer Media Group. The Atlantic Soccer Media Group will provide you with the most extensive live coverage and affordable rates to bring your club's matches to your fans. So they will never miss any of the action.
Good ball laid off to that far side. Shot ripped. It's in! Dalton United at the death of the game! They go ahead, and this stadium is sent to raptures!
And bring them along with you as you raise the trophy.
Gentlemen, say it with them. They are the champions.
So what are you waiting for? For the best and easiest coverage, national exposure, attract sponsors, interact with your fans, work with scouts from around the world? Contact the Atlantic Soccer Media Group.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Charlie Jordan Field here at Shiloh Stadium for this matchup, Week 14, all but done. Kalonji Pro Profile welcoming North Georgia United here to Shiloh Stadium. Larry Weaver here alongside Andre Bomar to bring you all the coverage for today's matchup. And we got a little bit of an interesting setup here, Dre. We have one team in the playoffs and one team significantly out.
Yeah, definitely North Georgia playing for pride right now. They're safe as far as the relegation issues that some three teams still have to contend with. But Pro Profile, confirmed for the playoffs, are really looking to try to get up into a higher position in a higher seed to get that home field advantage. So they have a little bit to play for here, but it's going to be difficult. And you know, to see how this turns out after this game commences.
And when we look at the playoffs as it stands right now, you can see that. Hold on one second. There we go. So when you look at the table, you see Dalton United at the top of the table. They will get a first-round bye. If Kalonji Pro Profile wins today, they will shoot up from 5th place or from 6th place to 4th place. Let me spit out all those wonderful things. And then they will be welcoming SSL to Charlie Jordan Field next week, and we will step out as we are get ready for the festivities.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Shiloh Stadium here at Charlie Jordan Field. Today's matchup is between Kalonji Pro Profile and North Georgia United. Now, if you're able to, please stand for the playing of our national anthem.
And just about to get underway, but let's go back and look at the schedule for this week. Club de Strongest Los Tigres, they are taking on Vino Tinto right now, as well as our match, Kalonji Pro Profile versus North Georgia United. Tomorrow is the makeup from week 1, Atlanta Rovers FC, Legends FC. That game has been played for 45. It's 1-1 at the half. They've only got 45 minutes to play. A chance for Legends to possibly find their way out of relegation. We shall see. Like I said, you look at the table right now, 7 teams make it to the playoffs. Right now, Kalonji Pro Profile is sitting in 6th spot. If they win today, they will jump 2 spots up to 4th place. They would end up taking on SSL here at Charlie Jordan Field. The way that the table is set right now, you can see on Tuesday night, Atlanta Rovers would take on Kalonji, Atlanta United would take on Atlanta City, and SSL would take on Potros. But that is probably going to be a massive change once this game gets underway. When you look at the Golden Boot race, Matthew Dijon from Atlanta United Academy is more than likely going to walk away. Emmanuel Lam is here for North Georgia. He's got 2 goals to make up, 3 goals to take the lead. It's going to be a tough task. We'll see how that goes. Could Matthew Dijon lift that trophy? It's very, very possible. You look at the rest of the table. Dalton United, with their win last week, they are able to lift the trophy again here in 2023. They won the spring season. They won the fall season. Great to see them. They came into Premier in the spring. They had won Division I last fall, got promoted to Premier, quickly won, and then they also won this season as well. Atlanta United just didn't have enough to hang on to that top seed. They'll be 2nd place again. Atlanta Rovers looking good. Even if they have a chance to win tomorrow, doesn't change where they're going to be seated. They're stuck in that 3rd spot. They will get to have home field advantage for their match on Tuesday. Like I said, SSL and Potros both sitting at 20 points. If Kalonji wins this, they will jump up into that 4th space, and they will end up being the home field. You also have Potros, who have had a fantastic fall season after taking the spring off. Kalonji Pro Profile, they've been up and down all season. They have a record of 5-3-3 last week they had 2 games in the week. They drew with Atlanta United 2-2, and they lost to Legends 3-2. It was a massive game for the Legends as they're trying to crawl out of relegation. The bottom 2 teams are relegated in the season. Los Tigres and Vino Tinto are both down there as well. Depending on what happens with that match, one of them could be secured. If Vino Tinto beats Club the Strongest, they're safe, and Legends and Club the Strongest will be relegated no matter what. So it'll be interesting to see when we look at North Georgia United. They're 10th, 3-2-6. They won against Birmingham 5-3 and lost to Rovers 5-2. Last season they were 6th, and last season for Kalonji, they were in 3rd place. They lost to Atlanta United in the playoffs, and and Kalonji also defeated North Georgia 3-1 in the playoffs. So Kalonji is definitely known to be the game killer for North Georgia United.
All right, yeah, so as you notice, the game has not commenced yet. We have an issue with North Georgia and some of the players. There was a crash on the motorway on the way here, and some of the players are delayed getting here. So they don't actually have enough to start. There is a grace period of 15 minutes that they can have, and they can negotiate more depending on Kalonji and the referee crew, because it is a situation where players are on their way. So we're going to have to wait and see if those players can get here in the allotted time. Otherwise, there is the fear of a forfeit for North Georgia here, which will gift Kalonji Pro Profile the 3 points that they're looking for and that higher playoff position. But hopefully those players will get here in time. I heard that they're within 15 minutes of getting here, so we'll have to wait and see how that goes. So until then, we can kind of update you on the I guess you've gone over the playoff picture. There's also the relegation race that is another big issue that's going to be settled this weekend, and it all kicks off the new season for the playoffs on Tuesday coming up.
Yes, we were just having a conversation about that. The table as it stands right now, even if you look, like I was just saying, Dre, as you were stepped off, even if you look at that match, Los Tigres versus Vino Tinto that's going on right now, if Vino Tinto wins that match, there is no way out of the relegation zone for Club the Strongest or for Legends FC. They will hang on for the Premier Division for one more season, and it's going to be Los Tigres and Legends that are going to be relegated to Division 1.
Yeah, I mean, and it's sort of a sad sort of story for Legends, who had their destiny in their own hands, but two games in a row they lost in stoppage time, both of them, and that's put them behind the 8 ball here, hoping for some help from in this case Club the Strongest. Now a draw would work well for them, but they still need to get a positive result against Atlanta Rovers in that second half that they still have to play. And so it's all to play for, and we'll have to wait and see how that rolls out for them. But that's the relegation and survival race that's going on right now.
And the playoffs are going to kick off immediately on Tuesday night. And like I was painting the picture, as it stands right now, the Rovers would welcome Kalonji Pro Profile, Atlanta United would welcome Atlanta City, and SSL would welcome Potros. But if a win for Kalonji Pro Profile tonight will put everything into flux, as they would jump high up the table from 5th spot to 4th spot, and then they would welcome SSL. Atlanta United would still welcome Atlanta City, but Atlanta Rovers would then welcome Potros.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting playoff first round here too, because Atlanta City has vastly improved, but so have Atlanta United Academy. We saw how they ended the season this year, really just with some very, very strong victories over some very good opponents. And so they're really hitting the playoffs at the right time, and I think it helps them to go into the first round without any break. It keeps their rhythm going. And but it's going to be a good one with Atlanta City, because they also recently tied Dalton United in the regular season, and they've shown a lot of skill to, make the upset if they need to. But the other games, Kalonji, like you say, we could have that Kalonji derby again. SSL will be looking for a little bit of revenge from the regular season loss that they had to Kalonji Pro Profile. So that will be an interesting one. But Portoros vastly improved over last season, and they're also looking to go into the playoffs with a bit of rhythm. And so, it's all to play for. It should be a very entertaining and interesting playoff this season.
And we have to give honorable mention to UMAFC, who tried to hold on to that 7th spot with all that they had. They really had to struggle the beginning of the season with most of their star players on college duties. They had to play those first few weeks with their academy, and they had to take on the strong teams right off the bat, Atlanta United, Dalton United, and then they really had a hard time climbing out. They looked really, really good the last couple weeks of the season, but they just weren't able to hold on to that spot and fall out 1 point behind Atlanta City FC.
Yeah, it was a bittersweet thing for UMA, who came in under the underdog tag because they had a lot of their players go off to college, so they started with a youth team in the season. But they did really, really well here, to the point now they have a lot of their college players that have finished their stint in college for this season. They're back with the main club, and they really could have been there if they had made the playoffs and maybe made some noise in the playoffs. But they'll have them in the springtime. They finished strongly. Great coaching. There'll be an announcement next week on the Coach of the Year, Manager of the Year, and the Golden Boot. We'll know, confirm all of that today. And, UMA is in the running for the awards there.
Definitely so. Bouts are ready to kick off. When we look at the weather conditions for today's match, you'll see that it is a little cool, 54 degrees, 9-mile-an-hour winds. Really are not seeing those winds down on the field, but we have them up here in the press box as they're coming straight at us, gusting at 11 miles an hour. When we look at the formations for today, both teams have a 4-3-3. The way that we receive the lineup for North Georgia United, depending on the players who are still on their way. Keep an eye on, like I said, number 13, Emmanuel Lom. He's 2 goals out of the Golden Boot spot. Really needs a hat trick today to win that title. Could go to Matthew Dijon from Atlanta United. Otherwise, one of the big things to keep on, you look there with Kevin Grimaldo as the coach, look at the home lineup for Kalonji Pro Profile. Bruno Kalonji's typical 4-3-3, and one of the big factors in this is probably going to be the matchup with Tony Tiente, Sam Pavlotsky, and Anthony Sumo. Those 3 are really going to make a difference in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, it's a strong matchup that or lineup that Pro Profile have, and I think that it's more than strong enough to get the maximum points out of this match. It's just a matter of whether, first of all, can we get this match on? Hopefully those players will get here. But they do have something to play for. I think home field advantage is going to be something good to look forward to for this type of team now as they get their rhythm back. Kalonji, I think they underperformed this season. A lot of distractions for them. Not a real settled 11 for most of the season, which I think hurt their opportunities for consistency. But here they are in the playoffs, and it's a new season, and anything can happen, and they got their regulars back, so they could go on a run. And they showed against Atlanta United that that they're here to play, and they can play against the best in the division.
And when you talk about lineup changes for Kalonji Pro Profile, Captain Damfa, this is his first time back in about 2 months. The last few weeks and last few matches, it's been on Kamani Irving to handle the captain role back there on the back line. He's out today. He is replaced by Samir Williams. So it's going to be interesting to see how Kalonji Pro Profile handles this match once we get it kicked off. They are trying to get themselves powered up and ready to go for the playoffs. They know what it's like to get through the playoffs. Once you win the playoffs, you then enter into the national playoff structure, and then that's where everything changes. You have an opportunity to make the trip all the way to Irvine, California for the Final Four. If you win the championship, you get to lift the trophy and have a nice $20,000 check for your organization. Every team wants to be able to do that in the spring. It was AS Frenzy out of Florida that was able to do that. We were able to cover their road to the Final Four as they came through the Southeast region. Really, really amazing to watch them play. And their star player from last season, who was only 15 years old and was the Golden Boot winner for the national playoffs and was just fantastic to watch. We'll see if they can continue to go through it. When we talk about the national playoffs, the Georgia piece of the national playoffs, their first chance will go against the Tennessee-Kentucky representative, and that will be in December 16th, 17th weekend. Once we get closer to that weekend, we'll know exactly when those dates are going to be. And then the winner of that will take on Mid-Atlantic and then on to the Southeast Regional, which would be taking on the Florida representative. So when it comes to the national tournament, we get to cover a lot for the Southeast region. We've seen a lot of great teams. You look at Mid-Atlantic, you look at South Carolina Heat. They have been really fantastic. They made it to the National Final Four a few seasons ago. We had AS Frenzy last season. Tennessee Tempo out of course, Tennessee. They made their way through. So it's really been exciting football down here in the Southeast region. So getting a few updates on the match.
Yeah, Larry. I just got off the phone with the match official there. Unfortunately, and this is a sad story, we're not going to have a game here today. The North Georgia players, they do not have enough players to start the game. You have to have a minimum of 9 players in the UPSL to start that, and they only have 7 here right now. There were reports of teams players that were on their way, but they just haven't arrived yet, and the grace period that's allotted has expired. So unfortunately, we're going to have it'll be called by the referees. The league then will make a forfeit judgment, which in this case most likely will be a forfeit, which will give 3 points to Pro Profile and a point deduction and loss for North Georgia.
Not what North Georgia wanted. They wanted to be able to see this season out. It's been a bit of a tumultuous season for them, to say the least. One of the keys that I was going to bring up as we were going on is the fact that two of the big reasons that I feel North Georgia had struggled this season was, one, their main head coach being away from the team this season, and then 2, their star striker, Sean McKeever, leaves the club, comes here to Kalonji Pro Profile, and they really struggled all season to produce results.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things that really did them in, I think. And one second, let me look at this. Looking at the points here, I think that it hasn't updated yet. But yeah, I think they were kind of up against the wall a little bit coming into the season. They had a kind of tumultuous situation with their players, with McKeever, a key player that went over to Kalonji Pro Profile, and and then a coaching changes as well. It's hard to stay, consistent when you have those types of changes in your team. And so these things did affect them. I think it kind of is one of the reasons they're not in the playoffs, but they did survive. And so they're going to be set for a return to the Premier for the spring of 2024. Hopefully they can reload and get some quality players in. They're in a talent-rich area up in the Dalton area, Dalton and Calhoun area. And so I think the outlook will be, bright, and hopefully they could get their coach back as well, Coach Brito.
So we look at the updated table as it stands right now. Like I said, this is going to shoot Kalonji Pro Profile up to 4th place. So what that's going to do for the playoffs, Dalton United, they get a first-round bye. Playoffs kick off immediately on Tuesday night. Atlanta United Academy will take on Atlanta City FC. Atlanta Rovers FC will take on Potros FC. And Kalonji Pro Profile and SSL will do it again. The Kalonji Derby, as SSL being an offshoot of Kalonji Pro Profile, was basically their U23s.
Right. And this is interesting. I'm just looking at the table now. Once the ruling comes through on the forfeit, North Georgia is going to go down to 10 points, which is interesting. They have a superior goal difference, but realize if Vino Tinto wins their match today, they also will be on 10 points. So it's down to goal difference. And again, like we said before, goal difference, as you're playing your games through the season, the margin of victory does mean a lot. And so that difference could save North Georgia, but boy, they're right on the edge now with what happened here. So
yeah, but when you look at the scenario, if Los Tigres wins the matchup today and they jump up to 7th place, what really they'll still be in the relegation zone because of goal differential, and it really comes down to that 1-point deduction that they got back a couple weeks back due to the cancellation of the match for basically the coaching staff for Los Tigres losing their head and getting that match forfeited. They would be out of the relegation zone, and it would be Vino Tinto and Legends FC. And Legends, if they get some points from tomorrow's match against the Rovers, they might find their way out.
Yeah, it's a lot of equations to look at here because, like you say, if Club the Strongest, who are on 4 points, if they win, they're actually going to be on 7, but they do have a superior goal difference to Vino Tinto, which means Vino Tinto would drop down into the relegation places. And they play Vino Tinto today, so that game is being played as we speak. And so that's a big one. But Legends, they're going to be – they're hoping that Vino Tinto doesn't win, that they can draw or lose. But Legends has to win against Atlanta Rovers tomorrow. And that's that second half game that still needs to be played. That game is currently 1-1. And they need to get all 3 of those points in order to save themselves. That means if Vino Tinto drops points, Legends needs to win to save themselves. So that's the biggest drama. So that'll be the game to watch right now today to see if Vino Tinto, if they win, they're safe. They're going to save themselves. But if they lose or draw, it's up to Legends.
And just like that, it brings our presentation to an end, as we will end this match as a forfeit for North Georgia United due to lack of players. And that will do us for tonight, but we will be back Tuesday night for the beginning of the playoffs here in the UPSL Georgia Premier Division. So for Larry Weaver and Andre Bomar, this has been Atlantic Soccer Media Group's coverage of the UPSL Georgia Premier Division. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you next time on the ASMG YouTube channel.
This has been a presentation of the UPSL. Any use of this broadcast without the written consent of the Atlantic Soccer Media Group is prohibited.